All right, let's do it.
Well, hey guys, this is Marcus Dillon with Dillon CPAs. I've got a very special guest today, Brian Pacell with Fortune Management. Worked very closely with Brian on a lot of dental and dental offices, and just wanted to share with you. He's definitely a trusted resource for us, and it's been a long week. I think Brian can share in that. I told a client earlier today, this week's been the longest year of my life.
Yeah.
And so just a lot of conversations that we've been having with clients in the dental space, in the non-dental space, about closing offices for short time emergencies only. So I'm going to give it over to Brian and have him introduce himself and kind of what he does in his world, and we'll kind of go from there.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Dylan. Yep. Marcus, sorry. I guess it's been the longest year of my week, right?
Yeah.
How'd you say that? The longest week, the longest year of your week ever?
This week has been the longest year of my life.
Sorry, Marcus. So. Yeah, I've been on phone calls and text messaging with clients and non-clients alike, starting every day, probably about 5:45 in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. So I apologize for any stumbling and tripping over words that I might do, Marcus. But
no, we're good.
Yeah, it's been quite an experience, and I've been telling everybody that I speak with, particularly the dentists, like what we're going through right now. There's nobody that can say they've gone through anything like this. It's so unique, and so what I'm in a position to do with Fortune Management is work with dentists in general. In the good times, we're helping them build their vision and making the steps in the strategy to get to that, whatever that looks like for them. And so now all the more so in this time, right, we don't want to lose sight of that vision just because of this disruption. As significant as it is just a disruption, and it's temporary.
Sure.
So we're doing a lot of calling and talking and support to make sure that we don't lose sight of the big picture. Meanwhile, in the short term, we're making well-informed decisions and supporting each other. So yeah, it's been quite a week, but I am hopeful that, in a matter of time, we're going to look at this as just a blip and not so much of an end of the world kind of scenario.
Yeah. So. And, I know that we've talked multiple times this week and emailed back and forth resources as we're getting those things are changing daily, it seems like. We were meeting with people and having conversations. Seemed like Tuesday, they were choosing to keep their office open, full schedule. And then by the end of the day, Tuesday or early Wednesday morning, that had changed, reverse course. Yeah. So it's been a day-to-day for some. But, I think with the statements that have come out by ADA, TDA, if you're in Texas, other states, obviously, for most of us, you and me, our clients are mainly based out of Texas. And so other state boards are doing their own thing, but, we've kind of had the conversation with most office owners that, it's really your call. Your team and you have to live with the decision you're making. Guys like us, like you and me, are a part of, just your advisory team to help you make sure that you are making the best decision for your business, your family, your team, your patient base. So let's walk through, we've had a lot of those hard conversations today, this week, about what do I do in my situation. And so let's kind of start there with, let's say we have a doc who decided they're going to move their schedule to an emergency only. That's what we're seeing most places is either being on call or just staffing for emergencies and then staffing some hours to have people in office. So, based on that, what's the first thing you really recommend they do after they've made that decision with their team?
So if they made the decision with the team, is to get that communication going. So communication is always critical to running an organization, right? So all the more so in kind of times of crisis, quality communication is the number one thing. And when I say quality communication, I mean the what we're communicating and how we're doing it and how frequently. So it's going to be communication with the patients to let them know what's happening. So your existing patients and the ones that are on the schedule and the ones that aren't on the schedule. So come up with a communication plan. What tools do you have available to get the word out as quick as possible? So a lot of our clients have patient communication tools like a Revenue Well, getting an email campaign together, posts on Facebook. I also recommend making personal videos. People want to hear reassurance from their trusted doctor, so that helps a lot too. Um, and then there's also more the business side is, making sure the employees are taken care of. So obviously, if we're only going down to emergency hours, we're reducing work hours for everybody on the team. For some, that might be no work time. And so we got to take some steps to make sure that their financial security is taken care of. And so there's resources for that with unemployment and the new things, kind of like you were saying, Marcus, it keeps changing, but there's new stuff coming out of DC as well. So making sure that our team knows where to go and get those resources. So if you have HR support, whether it's in-house or an external third-party provider for your HR, I would also check in with them. That should be right there the moment, actually they should be included in the discussion as you're making this decision, so you're prepared. Of course, that's not always possible given the overload. So those are some of the steps that we would take.
And I think, what our mindset is very similar, and it's just, you're really on a listening mission first, trying to listen to your team, your patients, what their concerns are. We saw people starting to make those decisions to really scale back office hours or go emergency only. I think we talked that after that decision was made for the doctor and for the leadership, it felt like a huge weight was lifted off their shoulders, right?
Oh my gosh, exactly. My conversations with my doctors after we made the shutdown decision, the tone totally changed. There was a complete sense of relief. Yes, there's the concern of, okay, the financials and keeping the cash flow going, et cetera, but giving it's make the plan and then work the plan, right? And so shutting down, it just kind of cleared the field. So there's not so much guessing and what ifs and maybes and, should we see this patient, do that patient be open these hours, those hours? That's all lifted off, right? That's where anxiety comes in, is when you're overwhelmed with so many decisions to make and there's no clear answer one way or the other. So the way we set it up is, when you do go to shutdown mode, a lot of that just goes away and we'll make decisions as we go forward.
Yeah, no, I see that too. You kind of mentioned it about, just the business operations like cash flow. We've had discussions about all of that, just because those are mainly after someone makes a decision, starts putting the plan in place. That's where you gravitate to, and like you want to secure that pipeline of cash coming in. So some things that we've touched on are just making sure that claims are up to date, obviously getting those into the system, getting that in the pipeline, so to speak. Looking at accounts receivable. Is there anything else that, you have to add into that other than the claims and AR?
I mean, that's really your only source of income, right? So it's worth it if you have a team member that can do some of those hours to keep processing that. And the good thing is a lot of that work can be done remotely now. So, they can be working from home and getting that done. And that should only take a couple hours a day. And really, depending on how long this holdout is, the shutdown, that pipeline of claims should be kind of processed through pretty quickly. So that's number one. There are some other things obviously you can do to keep the money in that you already have. So for example, on the marketing side, it's very unlikely that folks are out there looking for a dentist right now, except for, again, for those emergency cases. So simple things like if you're have some spend on Google AdWords or doing a regular mailers or that type of thing, I'd recommend shutting that off right now until we start up again, because that's just tossing things out there to an audience that doesn't exist. So simple things like that. But the good thing is a small business, you pretty well defined and you understand what you have. We can look at and you probably spend a lot of time doing, Marcus, is looking at their overhead and then their P&L. We can go line by line. Much of it kind of comes to a standstill once you shut the doors.
Yeah, I think for us, what we're talking about as far as cash outflows of the business is, you see people probably zone in on the wrong things and think they're getting some traction, but it's not really. They're using a cup to take water out of the boat while they should be using a bucket, so to speak.
Right.
So we kind of identify the biggest outflows, right? And so usually for any dental practice, any service-based business, that's going to be payroll. right? And those have been a lot of hard conversations, emotional conversations this week
Sure.
about, the team that you care for. And, there's just always this war on talent. And,
Yeah.
we have some docs that are choosing to pay regardless if their team is at home. I mean, that's one side. And then the other side with docs who just don't have that available cash flow to do that,
Yeah.
utilizing unemployment insurance, and that's what it's there for. Every
Sure.
business pays into it for their
That's
employees
right.
and themselves, maybe as a
Yeah.
W-2 employee of the business. So,
Yes. I
um,
think it's just it's new territory for our dentists. Other industries, larger industries, aerospace, oil and gas, you name it, they've gone through this, right? You're a major company, and you've gone through downsizings and slowdowns. We've just never done this before. It's just we don't know, we
yeah,
don't know, right? So
yeah,
it's new territory. So I think what you hit on is really, really important. It was subtle there that it's the emotional part of making these decisions, and making a decision to ask employees not to come in next week and to go sign up for unemployment is not a personal decision. It's not and it should not be an emotional decision, right? I'm very fond of saying, whenever we make a decision about your business, you shouldn't shoot from the hip. You have to look at the
sure,
numbers and the facts and the reality on the ground. And so we are doing these things, making these difficult decisions for the best interest of everybody. This is
yeah,
what's going to allow this dental practice, this business to continue. And so that we can preserve employment and we can continue to take care of our patients and we
yeah,
can keep our asset, this business that if I'm the dentist and I put my whole life into, we want this to continue. And so, having to go to the slow down mode and having folks sign up for unemployment, is really just a part of that. And
sure,
I applaud any dentist that's just gone through this week, and particularly the ones pull together their teams, and it's an opportunity to discuss it through the team and come up with a plan together on
yeah,
how to manage through this time. I think it's critical. It's in a different topic. It's really an opportunity for you, the doctor,
hmm,
to rise up to a whole nother level of leadership.
yeah,
And maybe, I mean, Marcus, tell me about that. I mean, you've talked to so many dentists
yeah,
across the state. Um, they're just having to step up in a whole new way. I mean, I'm sure you've
yeah.
seen so many success stories there.
Well, I think it's conversations they never had before. They never
Yeah,
even thought about having, and so it's what we've seen is it's forcing you to grow as a leader, as a human. Really,
yeah,
maybe your soft skills are getting pushed to the limit as far
oh
as
yeah,
your bedside manner when you're having these conversations with your team and with your patients, because some of the patients might not be impacted as much yet, and so they may not understand where you're coming from as far as
sure,
shifting your hours to emergency only. So there's a lot of grace that we want to say has been given to the team, and
yeah,
really the other thing is having care for your team members, because you don't know if their spouse is in oil and gas and was given a
yeah,
layoff notice. Their family, their kids are at home probably. If they have young children, they're not at school like normal anymore. So there's a lot
yep,
of variables that add stress to the
yeah.
overall situation that you kind of have to factor in.
And this is a great time. You're right. And that stress is something as a team. Here's an opportunity for you, your practice, your group, your team to pull together and support each other. So we've put out a bunch of ideas. I mean, things that we never even thought we'd have to bring into the world of of the dental industry. But having a coordinated babysitting. I mean, we got 5, 6 people in the office, all have kids, and
Yeah,
people are saying, I don't know what the coronavirus deal, what's allowed and what's not,
sure.
but at least just communicate, get on the phone. I recommend setting up, if not daily, at least maybe every other day, once a week. I don't know what's going to be, but a video conference like this with your whole team,
Yeah, check
just to
in.
check in. Yeah, we're just all so used to coming into the office every morning at 7:30, 8 o'clock, whatever it is, and our whole routine has been shot.
Sure.
And so, it can be really disheartening, and also just the stress of being in the house all day.
Yeah,
We're doing it right now. My kids are being homeschooled now because the school's gone virtual, and
yeah,
we got a house full of kids and trying to do work. And your team needs your support. At least for 30 minutes, you get a chance to talk and check in with each other and see what support you might need, or even just sharing of ideas,
yeah,
and connecting and staying connected. Again, you mentioned it, Marcus. This war on talent, and dentistry has been this last few years, maybe last half decade or so, a zero unemployment industry, which means that if
Yeah.
you're in the field, you want a job, you can get a job. And then the flip side is if you're the business owner, you're looking for somebody, it's hard to find somebody.
Sure.
So if you focus on your why, I'm going to quote Simon Sinek, your why, and the passion and compassion that you have in this industry, and harness that into how you treat your team, the outcome is going to be amazing. Like your team is going to stick with you, be committed, and all that. Whether you can afford to pay them extra or not, they're only on unemployment. That's a reality of the business. We can't change that.
Yeah.
But what you can do is how you treat people, create an opportunity to connect, and show support for everybody in whatever way you possibly can.
Yeah. No, and I think, the other thing, and you shared this list from y'all's, from your kind of recap that you get with
Yeah,
all of your masterminds and everybody together. We want to see people have downtime, but it's also what can I be doing in that
yeah,
downtime
yeah,
to actually feel like I'm being productive, I'm
yeah.
growing as a leader. So why don't you share some of that with what you've sent out, just in the last day
Yeah,
or so?
sure. I mean, you dentists are so busy, right? Every coaching call I've had with my clients this week, I've always ended it, what's great about this, and I've been amazed and impressed with some of the responses. One of them was just simply, oh, I can finally rest,
Yeah.
right? Taking care of herself physically and emotionally. It's really a time for you kind of to make a list of things in the practice that you haven't had a chance to tend to,
Sure.
special projects that you haven't had a chance to tend to, and personal development is a huge one. And I think that's kind of what you're alluding to, Marcus, about that leadership. Take time to read that book. Take time to take that online class, and maybe it's something outside of dentistry
Yeah.
that will help you be a better dentist, a better boss, a better business owner, a better spouse, a better friend, whatever it is. It's a holistic view of who you are. You're not just a dentist and just a boss. There's so much more to who you are. So it's a golden opportunity to utilize this downtime. And sometimes it helps to put pen to paper and make that kind of your temporary bucket list, if you will.
Sure.
The slow down bucket list of things that you feel you want to knock out. Some doctors are taking a look at their finances, getting that in
Yep.
order. Um, some are building a marketing plan for when we come out of this. Some are
Mhm.
creating videos like we are now to talk to their
Yep.
patients. It just the list goes on. The important thing is to keep productive and busy. Again, we're going to have challenges with that. Again, with school closings and all the other things that are going to be disruptive to that. So that's okay. You might be used to working 8, 9, 10 hours a day. If you can carve out 2 hours a day to do something for you time to work on the things that are important to you and to your practice and to your well-being, that's great.
Yeah.
It's just we got to kind of realize it's a different reality now, and you're not going to be producing production, dollar production, right? That's
Sure.
not the only metric we have for growth and progress.
Yeah.
So
There's gonna be a lot of new normals after
yeah,
this. And I think talking about finances, people might have to make some hard decisions about, that summer vacation that they had on the books. Obviously, the whole travel
yeah,
industry is being impacted right now, but
yeah,
just if we had a bubble in the pipeline of revenue and net income that the practice is going to
yeah,
have, you might
yeah.
have to make some of those hard decisions as a family.
As a
Um,
family, that's right. And we've had clients now already making hard decisions as a team. One of my clients who said, you know what, for the next 2 weeks, which is really for them about 8 or 9 production days, they can afford to pay their employees. So that was a
mhm,
decision that they made based on their numbers. But as a team, they agreed that they're going to work extra Fridays, that they wouldn't have normally done to make
yeah,
up for that. And I think that's great. It was a team decision.
yeah,
And then, and Marcus, I'll test you on this. This is a line of thinking that I have had and I've been sharing with dentists. And I do not want to minimize the struggles and the suffering that's going on out there, and the fear of getting sick and what this all means. But the opportunities that are going to be there in
mhm,
in a few weeks, in a few months, because of this, again, something that other industries have experienced many times over when there is a slowdown,
sure,
and unfortunately some businesses just aren't going to make it.
mhm,
And that's just the nature of the market, right? And
yeah,
so the upside of that for you all, the dentists that are making tough decisions but good decisions and smart decisions now, is you're still going to be here.
Mhm.
And at a simple level, you're going to have opportunity to take on some new patients. But there is a possibility actually to merge in existing practices. And coming from a place of abundance, coming at this with a good heart, isn't just like you're, predatory trying to buy them up. There's literally doctors out there right now that don't know what to do. And they
Sure.
might be stuck either because it's financial, or as a client of mine said, he knows a doctor up the road from him that actually has Parkinson's. And this might be the period that puts him out of business.
Sure.
So go talk to your colleagues right now, because talking about the changing landscape, there's a trend right now to go to a group practice. This may or may not be a fit for you. I don't know, but there's upside to that by cost savings and an economy of scale and all that. This might be an opportunity for you, the progressive thinking doctor, to approach some colleagues of yours, just have an open, honest conversation about your future.
Mhm.
And there might be some power and strength in coming together,
Yeah.
and we could all win. You, the doctor pursuing it, could win. The doctor who needs the help would win because they can continue their practice, and the patients will win.
Sure.
So it's just a thought I had. I don't know what your thinking is on that.
No, so in these times of uncertainty, much like you've been doing it with your calls, it's what's the good in this? How can we what are the opportunities that exist in uncertainty?
Yeah,
And so you see the world's best investors, the Warren Buffetts of the world,
yeah,
and thing like when times are uncertain, when people are fleeing the markets, you're going counter to that.
yeah,
So
yeah,
there are opportunities out there as far as lending. So
yep,
we talked about big cash flow items there.
yep,
If you're a good business risk, if you've done everything and you've remained conservative and kind of got all your ducks
yeah,
in a row, you're a great client to a banker right now because
yeah.
they're
That's
looking
right.
to lend, and there might be some good rates out there if you're looking to expand or do something
Yep.
in the near future. Kind of speaking into earlier cash outflow discussions, obviously talk to your banker during this time, especially if you need a 90-day extension on payments. And if they're offering that, we would recommend taking it, whether you need it or not, just to kind of give
Yeah.
yourself a buffer. The same with rent. We've seen people reach out to landlords, and landlords being very accommodating right now. If you don't own your
Sure.
own building, that's something to look
Sure.
at. So the other opportunity there is maybe renegotiating your lease at this time. If you're
Yeah.
a long-term play, that's something you can do now. Give your landlord a little comfort and
Right.
maybe lock
Yeah.
in today's lows. So
Well, I think everybody's kind of trying to take on the thought process and mindset. This is a marathon, not a sprint, right?
yeah,
And so
exactly.
to help each other out for a couple months, for a long term relationship and long term security of the business is
Yeah,
really what it's all about. And that's we take that on a micro level as well. Same thing with your patients, right?
yeah,
So we'll make little quote unquote sacrifices, or consolations, in order to maintain continuity. And hopefully a year from now, 2 years from now, when we're all thriving, we'll say, remember when, and have some gratitude for the other
yeah,
business partners we have for making those considerations for us. It's like we're all gonna have to do it,
yeah,
and make this grow. We're all in this together. And Marcus, you're mentioning, to call your lender and your banker. Just another thought, and I know we'll probably have to go in a few minutes, but is this is a message, I guess, to you, the doctor, the dentist who own their own practices. To act like a CEO right now is, if you haven't really thought about it, you have a team of advisors around
yeah,
you. Lean on them. There's no way you should be expected to know everything, and each one of your advisors doesn't know anything, which is the
right,
beauty of having multiple advisors. So people like your CPA or your coach or your banker or your HR support, legal support, marketing support. And I would go down the list and I would make
oh
a phone
sure,
call to each one of them and just say, hey, I need your help right now. Just, anything or anything I should know that I haven't paid attention to, give it to me, and let's
yeah,
talk it through. It might be a 5-minute call, it might be an hour call. I don't know, but that's what they're there for.
oh yeah,
And lean on that. I mean, that's what I'm here for. I've made myself open and available to everybody and anyone that
hmm,
wants to talk. And I think you'll find that people who support you in this industry are giving people, and giving professionals, and have so much knowledge and insight. And it just to give you peace of mind. There may be no actual immediate action items that come out of the call, but you
yeah.
did your due diligence and you touch base and you got that covered.
Yeah, and I think, I've seen this in my calls this week so far and calls I've got into next week. It's letting those people know that they're not alone.
Yeah,
Even if, you empower those docs, those owners to make that decision, whether what that means for them and their team.
yeah,
But it's, hey, stuff's changing daily. Reach out. Have you called this person? Kind of, employing them to be the best leader they possibly can during this time. And I think really that's all we're called to. I believe that's what I'm called to be for my clients. I know that's what you're called
100%.
to be for your clients. And so,
Absolutely. We
um,
just we want to see them thrive, and it might feel like we're in survival mode, but you're in
mhm.
survival mode because there's going to come a day where right where we're going to be thriving again.
Oh yeah,
And so I'm keeping that mindset. Sometimes it's a little bit hard. If you're personally an active person and a social person, and that's all kind of been pulled out from under us right now, and you love interacting with your patients and taking care of people, and that's been taken away from you now. Okay, so take some deep breaths, and take a moment, do some moments of gratitude and think of
mhm.
what you have to be grateful for. You're still here, you're healthy, the potential and opportunity is still there. You've chosen an amazing profession to be in. You change people's lives. Just take some time and think about that. And
Yeah,
we're committed. I know you are. Fortune Management's committed to helping every doctor still achieve their goals and their vision.
yeah,
And you do have to take it one day at a time right now and make decisions about what can I do right now to keep me on track. And
yeah,
make small decisions today that will build up to get you to something big tomorrow. But
yeah.
don't give up. We're not giving up. This is all
No.
all part of the plan, and we just got to keep pushing and pushing.
Yeah,
And
and I think the main thing is to keep in mind, don't make any short-term decisions that would lead to
yeah,
long-term detriment or long-term effect. It's just
yeah,
we've slowed the treadmill of life down, whether that was
yep,
our call or not, and
right,
truly equating that to a marathon. So as we ramp back up, as we kind of increase that speed a little bit to get back to where we were, we just want to make sure that we were healthy, that we took full advantage of this time and be intentional with it. Be intentional with
that's
it.
right.
Reach out to patients, reach out to clients, your team,
Yeah.
everybody. You've got the time to do it now.
You
You
do, and
said,
yeah, now check when they're most vulnerable. I mean, you have
yeah,
within your practice management system, you can sort your patients by age.
yeah,
Reach out to your senior patients and just check in on them, and just a call for goodwill, and just see how you're doing.
yeah,
That goes. I can't tell you how much of an impact that makes for anyone out of the blue, let alone their healthcare professional reaching out just for a personal call. It's not
sure,
marketing, it's not sales, it's nothing other than coming from the heart and saying, I care about you.
yep,
And it's good. That will just multiply in returns in so many ways, not just financial returns,
oh yeah,
emotionally as well. And we talk so much about the culture of your practice. That to me is a direct extension. That kind of behavior, that kind of activity is really living your culture. So take that opportunity. And how much time does that really take? You can log in, pull 5 names a day, and over the next couple of weeks, just shoot them a call, send them a text, whatever it
yeah.
takes. Reach out to people, connect. That's what this is all about, man.
Yeah, and I think this has been great. Before we wrap up today, let's,
Sure.
what are three things, and I think we can all boil it down to the one thing, right? But what
Yeah.
are what are three things over the next, let's say, 3 weeks of uncertainty that our docs can be doing to really set their team up for success? Whenever we're on the other side of this, what are just these are
Wow.
the big rock goals, man. What have you been telling people this week?
So the big things, I guess, would be to one is that tactically speaking, as you're scheduling, actually, I mean, whenever we come back to schedule, right, or rescheduling, be cognizant of what's the pipeline going to look like, because remember, during this time period that we are shut down, we're not rescheduling patients, and if we all start rescheduling them when we do come back, we're going to have a gap in the future where we're not going to have patients on the books for hygiene. So look at the timing of that and making sure you're filling that in for when that week or 2 or 3 week period would have been relative to the shutdown, right? So that's
Sure.
down 6-7 months out in the future. That's one tactical thing. Two is to making sure you're keeping in constant contact with your team and making sure they're committed. It's often a trend in downturns like this that people shift and make moves. So we want to make sure you have a solid team when you do come back online. That's just a fact of doing business. And let's see, what's a good third one is, what can you do with your finances is a big one, right?
Yeah.
So making sure you're optimizing. Now look at your current debt burden and seeing if you can refi and do anything like that. That will actually set you up for success, not just during this time, but long going down into the future when there's so many new opportunities, as you mentioned earlier. So that kind of hits kind of three areas. One is tactically with your systems and scheduling. Two is checking with the team, and three is getting your finances in order.
No, those are great, man. I think if anything, the people that we see that come out of this are going to be stronger on the other
Oh
side.
yeah,
Their teams are, their
absolutely.
practices are. And so I'm thankful for you in this time together. And just, if anybody listened to this or watched it and took away one thing, I think, that makes my heart happy, man. So
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Marcus. I know you said at the beginning, I'm going to say at the end, we work with a lot of common dentists, and I know having somebody like you on their side, to help them be mindful of their numbers, as we talk about, the finances, and understanding that it just gives them such a peace of mind.
yeah,
It's something that they're just not trained in, and you're the subject matter expert there, but par excellence. And not only that, you do it in such a classy way and supportive way. It's amazing. So
no, thanks, man.
keep it up, man. Thank you so much for supporting my clients. And
Yeah,
to everybody out there that's listening, if you guys ever need anything, we're here.
yeah.
I almost speak for Marcus. We're here. You find
Oh,
us,
man.
and whether you're a client or not, I'm happy to talk with you anytime. You don't have to go at this alone. So
Yeah.
we're here for you.
All right, man. Well, hey, it was great. I'm
All right.
sure we'll do this again in the future.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I appreciate you, Brian, and everything
Hey,
you do.
thanks, buddy, guys. Everybody
All right.
stay healthy and safe, and give lots of love to your family.
All right, man. Thanks.
Bye bye.
All right.